Hello everyone, this is Jalapeno and welcome to the next installment of the Eaveecraft Business Let's Play tutorial series. Today we are going to be talking all about bee processing and setting up your first bee houses so that they can consistently keep producing materials for you without you constantly having to monitor them. Now, because I've got my auto crafting network working a lot better, one of the things that you'll be noticing me doing more often is I'm going to be building stuff in reverse, basically looking at the end product of what I want, and then basically building the machines and getting the recipes in reverse so that eventually I actually have everything I need in line to get stuff operational. So first off, one of the items we're going to need for the bee houses is called an Aprs pipe, which is basically a diamond transport pipe and to propolis. And you're probably asking yourself right now, propolis, what the hell is that? It's actually a byproduct that you get from the majority of bee honeycombs when you process them for materials. So now we have to look at how we are going to get propolis. And if we look at the recipe, you can see propolis occurs from putting a comb. It shows only stringy combs here, but most combs will produce some type of propolis. So basically, we need a centrifuge. Now, a centrifuge will be able to create the recipe for, but we won't be able to make one yet because... Oh no, I am wrong. We will be able to create one. Alright, well that's simple enough. So, it basically requires a bunch of copper and a sturdy casing. Sturdy casing, of course, is a block of 9 bronze ingots. So, we'll create this recipe. Now, you may notice my assembler here is much larger. I've added 3 more pattern providers in here, so now I have plenty of space to add new recipes and such in. So we will build our centrifuge. And we don't have bronze, so we need to create a recipe to create bronze. So this is going to be a 2-step process. The first thing we need is tin powder, which we currently do not have any of. I'm going to take a tin ingot. Should be able to produce a powder, and we need copper powder, which we probably don't have any of either. Alright. That creates the tin powder, and that'll create our copper powder. And the reason why I'm using powders, of course, is so then that way there's no worries about any conflicts with smelting the recipes and combining stuff together. So we have our copper. And now to create bronze, if you remember, is 1 tin in the corner and 3 copper powders beside it. That makes 2 bronze dust. So we will now add this to our system. And now we need to create some bronze dust. There we are. I'll actually have it create more. Probably won't be able to create enough because we just don't have enough of the tin and copper powders, which it will start complaining about somewhere in here. Alright, so it's saying we need copper powder. So we've got a lot of additions to our sag mill that we have to add. So first up, the bronze dust. I'm going to quickly add one of these into the smelter, the alloy furnace I should say, which will then give me a bronze ingot so I can create that recipe. That, and we say 1 bronze dust equals 1 bronze ingot, and we will throw that in here. Now we need to tell it that we can create copper powder from copper ore, and we can create tin powder from tin ore. So we'll add our copper ore, and did I not grab the copper powder? Guess not. Or there it is. And remember, you have to tell it to. Well, I guess you don't have to, but the system will function a lot better if you put in the right quantities of what it produces. Otherwise, it's going to wind up crushing 2 copper ores as opposed to just one when we only need one. And tin ingots, or tin ore to tin powder. There we go. And the minute I add these, it should actually start crushing some more to make the bronze ingots we need. And then so when that's done, it will make our bronze casing. We'll dump these into there. And we'll just wait for all that to build. And while we do that, one of the other things we are going to need is a carpenter. We'll just do that now while we wait for the other stuff. Feels like something's coming after me. It might just be the sheep. Alright, carpenter again. It's bronze ingots and another sturdy casing. So again, relatively simple recipe. So the carpenter is crafting. We're still creating more bronze. And while that works, I don't think we have the recipe for diamond transport pipes in here yet, so we'll create one for that too. And if you remember, we're going to need that for the Aprs pipe. We'll actually create the recipe for that now. Alright. And then diamond pipe. There we go. Those into the system. And it looks like the system might have glitched out. We'll just toss this back in. So what looks like what has happened is we've hit a snag with our recipes. This can happen. It's rare, but effectively what's happening is the centrifuge and the carpenter recipes, because you'll remember when you look at the recipe, it's actually indicating several different types of copper and several different types of bronze. Normally the Forges or dictionary will kind of sort that all out, but apparently Applied Energistics doesn't want to work with it. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to go in here. We're actually going to get a real copper ingot, and we're going to get a real bronze ingots. These are the ones we can actually make, and we are going to create these recipes again. And we're going to remove all those. Those in. Alright, all looks good. And then we are going to repeat this for the carpenter. Alright, there we go. So those bottom two recipes I'm just going to destroy. one of the benefits of having a volcano close by. Though I suppose I could put my little unsafe lava pit in the middle of all this again. Alright, we'll add those in. And we're going to have to reset these. So let's try this again. Alright, we want to build the Carpenter, and we want to build a centrifuge. So now it's actually smelting stuff again. Did I screw this up? Nope, they're all the same type of copper and bronze. It might just be the recipe's looking weird, but in any case, it was doing what it needed to do. That is weird, it's just bugging out a little. It's not the end of the world, it's just, I guess it's remembering the old recipe and not working with the new. So we'll just mess with things a little bit to try to see if we can fix this. I'll actually do that and actually shut down the network, see if that helps. Let's see how the Carpenter works now. There we go. Now it's wanting all the same types of bronze. So now we just gotta wait for that to do its thing. Let's see, what else are we gonna need? We've got our wooden transport pipes. We're only going to use two Atorkic gates right now, or Otteric gates. I don't know. I still can't pronounce some of this stuff, but I'm only going to use 2 of these gates for now, simply because I'm a little low on ender pearls and I need 1 per gate. But I also want to keep some for my personal anchors here to keep these chunks loaded while I'm messing around. And now, just to screw with me, the Carpenter has switched, and that might be the sturdy casing recipe now that is screwing with me. Indeed it is. Normally it's not an issue. We've actually built other things with the sturdy casing recipe before. It's just, it gets finicky, so we're just going to say screw it and fix it up. We probably should have done it this way the first time. And it uses bronze, so we will clean all that up. But I believe the centrifuge actually completed. So we'll put that in there. This again will go into our pit of unfit recipes. Alright, and I'm probably going to have to break the network again, just so it resets its pattern information. And Carpenter. And now it looks like it's just using the right bronze. But the centrifuge should be done. There it is. We are also going to want a fuzzy import bus for this. Or sorry, a fuzzy export bus, which we don't have one created. So we'll create the recipe for that. That's probably going to take a little while to craft, because it's going to have a number of things it's going to make. So for now, we're going to set the centrifuge up. he's coming at me with a vengeance. There we are. Alright, so I'm going to put the centrifuge down, but as you'll recall, normally stuff doesn't seem to get powered when the pipe has when the energy conduit's already been placed down. So this should actually power it. It should work, but we are going to wait until we have a recipe for it to test it out. And to test it out, let's go back to where my bees are. They've been working pretty hard. We'll explain all of this shortly. For now, I'm just going to get a few honeycomb. So I should be able to, assuming this thing's actually powered now, I can drop a honeycomb into here, and there it starts working. And then when it pops out, I get a honey drop, and I get some beeswax. Propolis is a random thing. It won't happen with every honeycomb, but it is fairly frequent. You'll wind up with a fair amount of it. So I also need a basic import bus, which is that it? There we go. Because I'm going to want the system automatically taking this stuff out. And my Carpenter is still smelting away. And I think I have my export bus by now, do I? Oh, it's still working away too. Alright, well, while we wait for that, we'll dump some more honey in here. Just double checking. Okay, honeycombs themselves do not actually produce propolis. You can tell this by going to the honeycomb in NEI. And this will tell you what produces it, which a lot of bees produce it, including the bee that makes cookies. But if you push U while mousing over a honeycomb, it'll tell you when you go to the centrifuge what it can potentially make and the percentage chance. Now, honey drops are very useful as well, so as well as beeswax. So both of these are really nice to have, but we need propolis. So let's see. I don't know if I have any bees that produce something different. Rocky combs, I don't think they actually produce anything. It's been a while. Okay, well they just produce beeswax, but only have like a 50% chance, and honey drops at a very low chance, but it does not produce propolis as well. So it says it wants me to create stringy combs. So we will look up again what creates stringy combs. Alright, it is saying I'm going to need a diligent or unwary bee. So I'm going to actually, a lot of people have done stuff with bees further than I have so far, so I'm actually going to reach out and try to buy some propolis, and I'll be right back. Alright, so I have enough propolis now, not many, but I have enough to create one Aprs pipe, which will be enough for me to show you what I want to do. So we'll create the Aprs pipe. I think we have everything set aside for it. Yep, it's been created. Alright. And I'm going to remove this ender chest over here, because I'm not using my my little tree farm right now. And so, again, since I'm low on ender pearls, I don't want to create another chest at the moment. So, alright. We've got our gates, we've got our Aprs pipe. We are good to go. Alright, so we are going to go back to my bee farm. And now what I'm going to do is actually set up a system that allows me to pull the bees out of here when they've done their thing, sort through them, and put bees back into the system. So first we're going to start off with placing that down. And of course, no, alright. And we need a wooden transport pipe to actually pull things out. That's not going to work with these. That's right. Bee houses, which I showed you before, are actually the tier 1 of forestry items. Unfortunately, they don't interact with pipes. I completely forgot about that. So I need the next stage, which is an apiary, which requires an impregnated casing, which requires seed oil, which I do not have. Although, actually, I think I managed to buy a couple apiaries off a donator, so we are in luck. Seed oil is something I'll be tackling in the next episode. So we're going to put this down. We'll take these bees out. I don't want to use these ones because them being... Alright, we want pristine stock going in the apiary. And the reason for it is because in apiaries, bees can actually die if they're ignoble stock. So we'll let that do its thing. And those bees will start. So here's what I'm going to do. I put down a wooden transport pipe, and now it's actually connected. Then above it, we are going to put our Aprs pipe. And then we don't have enough gold pipes to actually do this. We'll put this here. And I'll just have to move my chest to make this happen. I actually have a much more elegant setup once we get to the tier 3 of the bee houses. Or the beehive types, I should say, but this will be sufficient for now. So now what we are going to do is, first we are going to add our gate. We add this into here, and we are going to tell it that we only want it to run if it is missing a queen or a princess. This basically means that until this dies off, the pipes aren't going to do anything, which is perfect for us. And we say we're going to want it to use an energy pulsar. Then here, here is actually where the magic happens. We can actually have it sort what we want it to do. So, I mean, we could basically say, well, we only want to pass drones or any type of bee, or only princesses, only queens. Purebred bees are something that we are going to be discussing in the next episode when we start on mutations. For now, I'm just going to use any bees simply because of the fact I really don't care about mutations, and since I'm using only meadow bees here, it's not going to matter. In the blue slot, we are going to say anything. So anything is like the default. If it doesn't know where else to take something, that's where it's going to go. So what it will do when this is done is, just to show you, it will... Actually, what I'll do, I'll make this even easier. I'm going to turn this gate off, I'm going to wait for this bee to die, and then I will be back. Alright, so the bees have now died. They didn't produce any honeycombs, but that can be expected with the low productivity that we have in these bees right now. So now they're ready to actually be reset. I actually altered my setup slightly. This is so that the Aprs pipe actually pipes directly back into the aviary rather than going through a gold transport pipe first. And the reason for that is the Aprs pipe is smart enough to know if the apiary is full. Now, we can hold up to 64 drones in this left-hand section here, but with this being automated, eventually that will max itself out, and if we used the old setup, I'd start having bees just dump out all over the floor here. With this setup, any extra bees I get will go into my ender chest and into my AE network for further processing. So, without further ado, we will now set our gate to, it has to be missing a queen or a princess. And the missing queen or princess only applies to it being in this section. It doesn't care about the fact it's in the inventory here. And we'll put an energy pulsar, and the bee should start coming out. There they go. They'll come down and back into the aviary. If I had had any honeycombs or special items, they would have gone this way into the ender chest, but because they didn't, everything just went back into the apiary, and now you see we have a Meadows Queen again, and now we have actually an extra Meadows drone. That's because this queen, when it dies, produces 1 princess and 2 drones. So if I keep this running long enough, I'll actually have a surplus of Meadows drones that I can use for whatever I want, which will come in really handy when we start doing mutations. Going back to our base. The Carpenter and the Fuzzy Export Bus are finally completed. The Carpenter I'm just going to put down. There's nothing that we are going to do with it this episode, but it's going to be coming mighty handy in the next episode. The centrifuge, what I'm going to show you with the Fuzzy Export Bus, is actually pretty neat. And this is why I love these things so much. Now, if you'll recall, we've got various different honeycombs in the system already, and if you look in NEI, there's a ton of different combs, and if we add different mods and stuff, this can get even higher. I don't even think this is all the combs. I feel like there are some that are missing, but there's obviously quite a few of them. So, but you'll notice most of them are a single ID, the first 4 digits at the front, like the 8776, and just have a data value at the end of them. This will make our life so much easier using the Fuzzy Export Bus. What we will do is you'll notice that there's actually, out of the combs that I do have, the Mossy Comb and the Honeycomb, there's 2 different data values here. One is 13360, and the other one is 8776. So I'm going to actually take one of each of these combs, and I'm going to mosey on over to my Fuzzy Export Bus here, and I'm just going to put in the Honeycomb, and I'm going to put in the Rocky Comb. Now what will wind up happening, we don't have enough various combs for you to see this, but now with this setup, any honeycombs that get put into my system that start with that 13360, regardless of the data type, so basically anything in this area, it will automatically go into the centrifuge. There's no reason to keep honeycombs around for the most part. There's 1 or 2 recipes that I think require a honeycomb, but you'll ultimately wind up with far more than you need, and of course you can always just turn this off if you actually need to preserve one for a particular recipe. But this way I'll be constantly producing or processing whatever my bees make. Right now it's not much because I've only got 1 bee in automation, and most of my bees, they're not designed to be productive yet. We are going to have to start working on that. In my old build of 1.5, I had dozens of these centrifuges working non-stop that just could not keep up with the sheer production of my bees, and I'm hoping we can get ourselves back to that point again. But effectively, with this Fuzzy Export Bus, it just makes configuring all this stuff a lot sooner, because if I had to create one for every single one of these combs, not only would I have to use a new centrifuge every 8 combs, but there'd be a lot of wasted time, because if I have an excess of honeycombs, for example, and all my centrifuges are set to use them, they'll process those honeycombs. But let's say if I had 5 different centrifuges all configured to do different combs, and I had an excess of honeycombs, I would continue to have that backlog because only one centrifuge would actually be handling the honeycombs, and the rest could just be sitting there doing nothing. So this is the most effective way to get things done. Well, that's it for this episode. When we come back next, we are actually going to start talking about the Extra Bees mod, which adds a whole new component to bee management, and we are also going to start dealing with bee mutations and start getting our first ones. So that's it for now. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and take it easy.